NightEnd versus ToD, Undead versus Human, boys and girls. We're heading into our next game of WarCraft 3 here. And up to the top left here in Turtle Rock we have a NightEnd, and down to the bottom right we see ToD playing on his ladder account Romantic Human. So this is a ladder game that we're currently looking at. Also, you might have noticed already that we don't have Fog of War. That's simply because there was no observer in the game, so this is the best way to actually observe both of them here. We're going to take a bit of a closer look at the matchup. So now, first of all, NightEnd and ToD have both been active Warcraft 3 players back in the day, and both of them have now started to play the game a little bit in preparation of Reforged. The matchup here, as you can see, already giving us a bit of a different build order. So far, the Undead matches that we've seen have mostly like circled around Fiends, but in this setup it's going to be a little bit different. We have Crypt and Altar started early on, and then the two more relics for the shop. So the idea is still being the same. You want to get your DK out pretty early, or your hero, try and get a bit of creep going. Already the scout here moving to the right. You just want to double check if your opponent is starting on close position or on opposite side of the map. This is a 4-player map, so we're gonna have the same thing also from ToD, who's currently heading into the Archmage as the first hero. There's currently one farm out here, and both of them with the knowledge that they are not spawning close to an opponent, have a little bit more leeway when it comes to creep. But from at least NightEnd, we can expect that at some point he's going to start and get a little bit of harass going with the DK, trying to snipe a couple of creeps or maybe even militia's footman out from ToD and get ahead by that. One of the huge things to watch out for later on in the game is definitely what kind of items we're going to see, since we have a couple of camps that are pretty fantastic to get an aura. That Orgalord on level 7 that we have to the top right, and also to the bottom left can drop some pretty mean items. Here's currently the Footman Scout of ToD, didn't actually commit to a Militia Scout here, didn't really have to. Against other races you oftentimes want to sacrifice an early Militia just to move over and see if there's a close spawn, since it heavily impacts your build order. Wasn't really the case in this particular setup. But already we're seeing from NightEnd that he starts to look for the human player here. So he's going to try and check out what exactly ToD is up to, and so far it's just the small camps that ToD is currently attempting to spawn. So with a coil you normally try and take that away, nice move, but ToD with a surround, and that is an early end for NightEnd when it comes to the harass here. Actually lets himself get damaged a lot in hopes of getting another minion, gets it too, and lets the DK die as well. So the thought process behind that, pretty simple actually, just realizing that a level 1 Death Knight is not quite worth it to sacrifice the town portal here, which is quite a bit of gold. So he takes 2 of the Organ Maulers away. That's a bit of experience that he first of all denies to the human player, but at the same time obviously he also gets it for himself. But ToD with a really great surround here. Surrounds in general, just one of the coolest things in Warcraft 3, and he's able to get that one done immediately. So DK is getting revived. At the same time we're also having, as you can see up to the top left, Necropolis already being upgraded here. We have a graveyard also in play, and that allows us immediately the early game Fiends. So with those, we're gonna see them start getting his own tech or his own creep up. And ToD in the meantime, with the knowledge that he also took the DK down, is already heading into an early expansion. And that's actually really common. If you're a human player, it's pretty much what you want to do. You want to make sure that you expand early, especially against an Undead player who normally tries to get into the late game quite a bit, since Undead heroes absolutely excel in the late game with Coil Nova action, especially on high levels. So ToD already with the attempt to get an expand here, gets the militias in play too, and goes straight for the Forest Troll Warlord. We already see the Death Knight on the way though, with a little bit of help here, Row of Necromancy in the inventory, but at the same time, ToD is nearly done. On the other hand, his item, not really the best one, Bell of Giant Strength. MK is going to have some fun with that, but outside of it right now, it doesn't really help him too much. But NightEnd can't really do a lot here. A couple of coils getting thrown out already. He's trying to take a few footmen down too, and will attempt to get another set of those peasants, and he actually gets one. The Fiends are also starting to move in here. It's a really nice harass that we're seeing from NightEnd, but at the same time, ToD still has that water elemental up, and he's microing his units pretty well around that gold mine to make sure that he doesn't lose more workers, but still attempted surround here on the Fiend, and he actually nails it. Great play again by ToD. Second fantastic surround from him, and that's a dead Fiend, and pretty much shuts down the entire harass attempt that we're seeing from NightEnd. Second Fiend comes in, but that doesn't really help him at this point in time too much. Another one comes in up to the top, where we also have the Necropolis now completely upgraded into the Halls of the Dead, and that should give us the second hero fairly soon. Slaughterhouse is already about to be built, so you want to make sure that you're slowly and steadily starting to go into Destroyers. You want to make sure that you have those statues also around to get those health and mana points back up, and ToD just continues creeping. When it comes to items, Cloak of Shadows, for example, is something that will be sold eventually and give him a little bit of mana here. Now, still a little bit of DK harass. Keep in mind that bad boy is still on level 1, is really looking for level 2 here. Doesn't have a charge of the Rock of Necromancy either, so can't even go for the skeleton support. But ToD, being nearby, has an easy time pushing him back. So, when you come from a StarCraft background, you probably ask yourself, okay, when is the Undead player going to respond with an expansion on his own? But it's not really quite the same. As I already alluded to a little bit earlier, it's one of those setups where an Undead can stay on one base for a very, very long time. Nice attempt here to hide behind the forest. That didn't quite work out. But yeah, an Undead can stay on no upkeep for a really long time on one base and then try and keep up with a human player even though he's on 2 base, simply because the heroes are going to be extremely strong if you keep up with creeping. Now creeping has a couple of things. First of all, there's a level 2, Unholy Aura comes in, so a little bit more regeneration and movement speed, but ToD already setting up for the surround, and the DK is eating a lot of damage. ToD was really nice unit control so far here, securing that expansion here. But coming back to the purpose of creeping, now if you're coming from StarCraft, it's not really a concept that you're familiar with. The last 2 games that are already casted on the channel might have already given you a bit of an idea. You're first of all looking for items, you're trying to get more experience for your heroes, but you also get gold for every single one of those creeps that you take down. So there's really a multi-purpose behind it. The items really can make or break a game depending on what you get, but there's of course also the element that even if you get an item that you don't really want, you will see that you can sell that. Another camp here, this time at the shop actually, is going to be really important later on. Potion of Lesser Invulnerability is a huge deal in a lot of these instances. But already we have Defend on the side of ToD, and that makes that piercing damage that we're seeing come out of the Fiends with their range attacks nearly useless against them. So Lich and Death Knight have to go for a lot of that. You can already see with the Lich, by the way, that he went into Frost Armor on level 1. Now we talk a lot about Nova and about just getting nukes in with Coil Nova action, trying to pressure especially heroes, but also units. But especially in these early stages of the game, oftentimes a Frost Armor can do a little bit more for you. So we have Dark Ritual, of course, as well, and depending on who you play against, that can be an option, but here it's a bit of a different setup. Now ToD is already with the 2 base that he has in the double gold mine, investing into additional production structures with the second barracks, and we're having the town hall being upgraded too. His second hero is obviously going to be a little bit delayed because of that expansion that he built, but the first set of statues is in play now for NightEnD, and that really allows him to have that sustain to go straight for these attacks here. Already 1 Sentry Ward, the Watcher Ward, is being dropped here. Level 4 on the Archmage, and he bought some items already. Potion of Lesser Invulnerability and the Scroll. Scroll of Protection and the Scroll of Healing have all been used here. And with that, ToD is already pushing NightEnD back pretty easily here, but had to invest quite a fair amount of gold. Now keep in mind, those 2 boots are going to be super important later on for both of the heroes, so they obviously don't stack. The effect doesn't stack, but he doesn't sell them because he wants one for a second hero, which is likely to be the Mountain King, and that's also where that Belt of Giant Strength is very likely going to go. Fiend so far still getting away here. There's enough mana on the Death Knight to get another call through, and that's exactly what we're seeing here. But also, still more and more of those statues coming in so that he can go into Destroyers later. And that is where ToD might even think about also retraining his Archmage and going into a Blizzard, depending on how the game goes. Just simply because once we have the Black Citadel, which is already upgraded, that is the tier 3, and the Destroyers, your water elementals are basically free energy for the Destroyers. Now, Destroyers can dispel units or effects and therefore gain energy, and that allows them to dish out even more magic damage. So you want to be careful that you don't give the Undead player too much of that, so you can't just wreck through your especially heavy armored units. Cryptlord coming in now too, and that puts on a lot of pressure, especially with the Impale that you can utilize. When we're looking over to the other side, we have the second tier in training, and that is, as expected, the Mountain King. And that is where especially hero focus is something that ToD can focus on a little bit more. Now we have 47 supply already on the side of NightEnD, so he's actually getting really, really close to hitting the low upkeep. We're most likely going to see him try and save a couple of resources. And now the army that he has Undead is trying to get some experience on his own. Because a big problem for NightEnd right now is that his heroes are still fairly low. Death Knight level 2 is as good as it gets for him. First Destroyers are now also in the play. And this is really the moment where ToD has just to simply say, alright, I'm gonna let you go for a little bit. He needs a little bit more anti-air. Rifleman likely comes through. But it's difficult for him to really face that army. So he's gonna he's trying to poke and prod a little bit, putting pressure especially on that first hero, but he can't really face that army in the long run just yet. But pressure on the hero is what you can usually rely upon, and that's an easy move. Even a statue left behind as the Death Knight was pushed to the left as the TP comes through, and that's actually a big loss here. Good play, really well done from ToD, and he currently has pretty decent control of the map here. He's finishing off the Forest Troll Trappers. You can see that the Archmage is actually on the side here, and the reason for that is pretty simple. He's trying to make sure that all the experience through the minions or the mercenaries that just get taken down through those creeps, that they actually end up on the Mountain King, who by now also holds, as expected before, the Belt of Giant Strength, has the Boots of Speed, Potion of Lesser Invulnerability, but both of them are now trying to creep their heroes out. And as I stated before, for an Undead, that is absolutely crucial. If you're in a late game scenario against a human, your heroes really make or break the game. And especially the pressure that you can push out from an Undead player is pretty fantastic with high level heroes. When you look at that Lich, he's also going to be super important because he's already with Claws of Attack +6 with an Orb of Corruption and the Gloves of Haste, extremely strong when it comes to the range damage and the poke. And especially the Orb of Corruption is also great when it comes to the bonus damage here. So, and the reduced armor. So, at this point, let's see what we're going to get at the... Oh! Alright, that is definitely changing the balance a little bit here. Khaldor's Pipe of Insight as an aura on that camp is absolutely insane. Now, I talked about it before. Those deep red camps that we've seen here drop great items, and Khaldor's Pipe of Insight is fantastic because it gives a much faster mana regeneration to NightEnd, and if you're an Undead player, that is basically the wet dream right there. That's going to be a shit ton of damage just with the help of nukes later on, as is. Death Knight is on 3 by now. Nice, slow, good clap, and trying to go for the body blocks here. Good damage. Even going straight for the Potion of Invulnerability because he was expecting the next Stormbolt. So, very heads-up play by NightEnd, playing better safe than sorry style here. Doesn't have a town portal right now, and doesn't invest in one either. He's just going for the Potion of Healing at this point, but town portals, of course, can really win you the game if you get creep jacked at any point. Maybe in one of those little cul-de-sacs here where a little happy turtle family is living peacefully together. When you just jump your opponent there when he doesn't have a town portal, that might result in a full wipe. Already a couple of scout farms on the map by ToD, trying to get some vision here. Stormbolt comes out again. That DK is still a little bit low, but as I said before, by now we have destroyers in play. It's only one thus far. The nukes are hitting the Mountain King, pressure hanging a little bit low, but there's already the entire human army just sitting to the left. The sorceress needs to be careful, goes down immediately as we have the pressure, and a fantastic impale from NightEnd coming through, but all of those abominations are really low, and the DK doesn't really have too much mana. First one is already down, and without a town portal, this is actually a precarious situation for NightEnd. Another Abom is about to fall here, but then pressure on the Archmage might just be enough. Scroll of Healing is doing its work though, and NightEnd is losing a lot here. Another Stormbolt hitting the Death Knight, but here comes the Impale, and the Undead heroes already doing a lot of work here. Those Riflemen, though, just ripping through the Destroyer right now. MK is low, gets another potion here, and NightEnd just barely keeps his units alive. Those two statues in the back definitely doing work, but the Stormbolt hits the Crypt Lord, and that might be the end of him. He goes down, and that's a the Mountain King on level 4, Archmage on 5. Water elements are going to do heavy work here. Good pressure against the MK, though he actually falls, and that's the level up for the Death Knight. And immediately NightEnd is trying to hightail it out of there. That name should actually be forbidden, to be quite honest with you. But yeah, good trade-off. Losing the Crypt Lord, but then at least being able to take down your opponent's Mountain King. And that was a level 4 MK2, so that really not only hurts ToD, but at the same time gives a massive amount of experience over to the heroes of the Undead, who immediately focuses on the top right, trying to grab another Augerlord camp, despite the fact that ToD actually has a peasant there for scouting purposes. But he's a little bit too far away to really intercept this, as you can see on the minimap right now. Now the important thing is there was no real way for ToD to actually engage into the Undead base and trying to take that down for the simple reason that it's really tricky to move into a base like that. Claws of attack plus 12, making that Lich in a few seconds probably more of a badass than he already is. I would be shocked if the item is not going to be passed over. And there we have it already. So that the guy is now at 23 extra damage. Heroes are of course being revived. As you can see here, we have NightEnd still on one base, one gold mine. Invisible Mountain King, source on that level are absolutely fantastic. Stormbolt not just coming out yet, but again the pressure play against the MK. Nearly falling here as that Lich is just hammering away. But talking about hammers, one flying across the map and hitting him hard. If not for a coil, that bad boy would be down, but the coil hits home. NightEnd once again keeping his heroes alive here, starting to retreat. Without a town portal, he is under severe pressure in these situations, but is still holding his own, at least for now. Rest of the army, or at least the Crypt Lord, is also starting to make his way back over, but with the slow that can come from the Sorceress, we have the Undead player playing this a little bit cautious. Now when we're looking at ToD on the other hand, let's check out the Archmage. The one problem that ToD definitely has is that he doesn't have a lot of items that help him in the long run. He has Boots of Speed on both of his heroes. It's going to be really important for him also to just move out of a Coil Nova range later on. But he doesn't really hold any great items. He missed creeping some of those important high-level spots that really give him something in the long run. Something like the Scroll of Beast can be great for a fight. The problem is that even with the Scroll of Beast, there are destroyers on the other side that can easily dispel that. So ToD is definitely lacking in the item department right now. This is also why we might see him go to the shop very soon to try and at least get some Potion of Invulnerability. Here comes another hit onto the Crypt Lord, level 3 by now already. The Lich himself is also level 3, so you can already see the problem. Coil Nova, and bam, the MK is down. The Crypt Lord is suffering as well, but already retreated into the back. But at this point, that nuke potential that we see from the Undead is definitely coming through here. But just look at that army that we have from ToD, and he is starting to absolutely massacre these units. Mountain King bought back at the tavern, one A-bomb down, going for their second. Doesn't have enough mana for a Stormbolt apparently though. If he did, he would definitely go for a Stormbolt and at least try to get the Abomination here. But there's still a massive amount of damage coming through, and that Scroll of the Beast that ToD just found as was creeping the Sea Turtle is still, or was until now, still active. So he's still pushing the Undead back here, but you can really tell that the one base approach that we are seeing from NightEnd is working out for him. And this is one of the big things with Undead, that you can make that work against a 2-base human if you do it well. But already we're seeing ToD expanding again. He's trying to maintain that map control and putting the pressure onto NightEnd here, just attempting to make sure that he doesn't lose out on the game. Now what's really important here as well is that we have the Brilliance Aura on level 2 now. He's trying to give enough mana to his Priest and Source so that especially the sustain with all the heal coming from the Priest is strong, but this aura has been nerfed a little bit, and you can really tell those priests are nearly continuously out of mana, trying to keep that army alive. Archmage is really low, and another nuke would already take him down, but the TP is over on the Mountain King, who had to use it as a last resort here, and the human army retreats. And again, big problems here for him. Another source already caught a little bit off guard. That's one of those moments when you arrive at the fight, the town portal is usually like, oh shit, I gotta get out of here. But that wasn't quite possible. So ToD immediately going back and making sure that he gets the healing, the regeneration through the Scroll of Healing in. And at this point, you are starting to see him in a bit of a pickle here. His Mountain King on level 5 is going to be great, and his Archmage is also on 5. Scroll of Regeneration is going to be super important for him to keep all of this up. But he is still lacking on the item department, and he's also in a position where the Undead is really starting to keep up with the hero levels. The one thing that NightEnd is still missing though is simply he needs a little bit more mana on the Lich in particular. But he's already starting to get more experience, and of course also trying to get even more items. We talked about Khadgar's Pipe of Insight earlier. It's a fantastic item for the Undead player in this setup, and also the extra damage on the Lich is just absolutely phenomenal. Ring of Regeneration, that's actually the second one, that at least helps him a bit with those heroes. But here comes now the trip from our human player, from ToD, to go up to the shop again. And I expect at least a Potion of Lesser Invulnerability, if available. Double Scroll of Healing already being used by him here, and there's the Potion of Lesser Invulnerability too. So he's currently trying to play around that. But again, long distance Stormbolt here, trying to pressure the Death Knight. Don't really see that happening anytime soon with the double Ring of Regeneration on the DK. You know, as an Undead player, that the focus of the human with the Stormbolts is going to be that Death Knight. So having 2 Rings of Regeneration on the DK is going to make it very difficult for ToD to really pressure the Death Knight as much. The item advantage that we see on NightEnd is just absolutely insane. But again, we're having triple base by now, so that's a lot of gold income that ToD can rely upon. And this is something that NightEnd just doesn't have. And eventually he's going to run out of gold in his own base, as you can see here. There's another 500 gold left in the gold mine, and that's basically nothing. In terms of items down here, Sobi Mask at least, that's a great item for him for sure. It's going to keep the mana pool up a little bit. It's better things that he could have gotten, especially since the Mountain King, of course, is still supported by that Brilliance Aura on level 2. But a Sobi Mask is going to make it much easier for the Mountain King to just fire away with those Storm Bolts and getting a couple of Thunderclaps in too. Now keep in mind that with this setup, the level 5 Mountain King is going to dish out insane damage. But ToD will have to be very careful who he targets with that, since we still have that Death Knight with not only the Ring of Regeneration, he passed the second one over, I think, yes, to the Crypt Lord. Even a Mana Potion now on the Lich from more nuking, but it's also Ring of Protection that we're currently seeing here. Nova already being used, slowing down the Archmage. No, the level 3 Coil is also hitting, and it's hitting hard. Definitely not really where you want to be with an Archmage. Gets immediately made invisible by a Sorceress. That's a really cool tool that human in general against nukes have if they want to keep those heroes alive, making sure that you are in a situation where it's tough for the Undead player to even identify where you are. It's especially amazing when you are using your MK for scouting purposes, because you can just simply send an invisible MK around through the army and then immediately just pop out of stealth, get the first Stormbolt in, clap away, try and get a focus fire going. You can really threaten an army here. But now we have a massive focus here on Abominations on the side of NightEnd, and at the same time those destroyers too. Now, a couple of people that watch this will probably have already picked up on the fact that we have very little upgrades actually on all of these units. ToD is the only one who's currently upgrading his Rifleman, and that's mostly because he has the economy that really works for that. But on the side of the Undead player, we don't see any upgrades for those Abominations or for the Ghouls just yet. And the reasoning behind it is pretty simple. The upgrades or the resources that you actually need in order to invest for that is something where a lot of Undead players will tell you that they would rather have the 1 extra or 2 extra Abominations than investing into those resources for upgrades. And a lot of that has to do, when you compare to StarCraft 2, that the maximum upkeep, the maximum food supply that you have is 100. Of course, there's like 15 alone if you play triple hero that goes away for heroes alone already. And so with that in mind, it's one of the reasoning why a lot of the players, when they're really starved for resources or a little bit low on those, why they are deciding to go away from that. Now with the Ghouls being sent down here, there's already an attempt now to take down one base. Here's the retraining that we talked about earlier. I mentioned that at the beginning. The water elements just don't do their job anymore. Nice move for the invisible. That was actually fantastic. And the Archmage gets away. But you could see the Blizzard come through. And that's really the thought where you say like, okay, my water elements, they just don't do anything for me anymore. I need to retrain here. My opponent has a big army now. The AoE damage from a Blizzard is way more effective. And that's the reasoning behind that. Mountain King getting caught yet. That's a problem. Potion of Lesser Invulnerability has already been used, and he needs to get away from this one. At the same time, the Archmage, again, trying to get the damage in. Now, the cool thing with the Blizzard is if you actually hit it on the gold mine, you hit all 5 Acolytes. Talking about hitting things, that Mountain King is getting hit pretty hard and has to use the TP just on the last moment. But yeah, the Archmage has done solid damage here, but you can see that NightEnd actually paid attention, and the multitasking that he had was good enough to keep all of the Acolytes alive. Now ToD loses the base down here. Can't really do anything about that. He took down the Ghouls a little bit earlier, but still at this point NightEnd is really committed to the attack, and we have to the top right now another expansion set up by ToD. Now ToD does have another 1,700 gold in the second gold mine. His main base is of course already run out. He's still on tier 2, trying to play this completely through through the tier 2 units, going for the Sorceress and the Priest, the caster support for the Rifleman. But his Mountain King is definitely going to be one of the crucial factors in the next fight. Especially here with the Arcane Towers, trying to drain already the mana resources if NightEnd at any point would really commit to an attack. And NightEnd is actually going into high upkeep right now, so you can really see that NightEnd is gearing up to make sure that he is going to get a bit more aggressive with all of this. Just circling through the heroes a bit, we haven't really seen too many changes in the inventory. The one notable thing is that we now also have a potion of mana on the side of the Crypt Lord. That's going to be pretty big and something we have to watch out for. Sobi Mask and still the scroll for the Mountain King, already trying to make his way over here, double checking, okay, what exactly happening over here, and trying to maybe sneak even onto the base later on. So we don't have anything on the Mountain King that could really help him too much for coming over. There is no Staff of Teleportation or anything, so the MK can't really venture too far right now. But here come now the extra destroyers, and that's 90 out of 90 supply, and here comes the commitment. Straight into the turrets though. Mountain King is over at the expansion though, together with the Archmage, so we still have one Staff of Teleportation, but the Mountain King doesn't have anything right now. Getting the Undead cut off from the entire income that he has is a pretty cool move here. The question is it worth it, sacrificing your own base to the top? The entire army is now all of a sudden caught without the heroes being present. And yeah, ToD is just trying to save whatever he can save here, moving away with everything, trying to also use the sorcerers to cast invisibility on a couple of them. But here comes now possibly the final fight, as NightEnd is without any income. He needs to make this one count, and he's trying to do exactly that. Position is going to be really important here. Most of the turrets are already gone. Really nice Blizzard already forcing the opponent back. The Thunderclap on the ground, slowing the units and getting some extra damage in. The Mountain King still being cautious here. You have to play around the cooldowns, but the Death Knight in particular is already rather low in mana. We have a couple of potions of mana available though that could be handed over, but here comes another Blizzard, and that thing hurts. It really starts to hurt here with all that AoE damage. But here comes the turnaround attempt. NightEnd starting to commit here, moving in immediately, and here comes the Impaler, should any second, brings the Crypt Lord in position, gets the Impale through. Good focus fire, but the Scroll of Healing on the side of ToD is coming through right now as the Mountain King immediately pops the invulnerability. Another Blizzard hitting home here. The Destroyers, of course, not really impressed at all, magic immune as they are, and here comes another massive Nova into the backline. The Riflemen are already starting to get low. The Mountain King about to fall, and he goes down, and with the MK gone, that could be the beginning of the end. Already the Lich on level 5, the Mountain King, or the Archmage, has level 6, but that doesn't help him either. Immediately the rest of the Riflemen are attacked here. Portal attempt on the side of ToD, and he barely gets out, but NightEnd is still at 61 supplies, taking that base down. He has the Crypt Lord on level 4, Lich on level 5, Death Knight has hit 6 by now as well. Unholy Aura being skilled over the ultimate here. Makes a lot of sense, no reanimated dead for him. Instead, level 3 Coil and also the level 3 Nova through Lich plus the Unholy Aura now on 3 as well. ToD really in a huge pickle now. No income for him anymore, basically relying only onto these units, and what he really would like to do is move in and get his Mountain King back. Without the Mountain King, he just doesn't have any chance here. Venturing into the middle of the map towards the tavern, but that Spellbreaker is not going to have any luck anytime soon. Mountain King is already halfway revived. Spellbreakers a bit earlier might have been an option for ToD to work a little bit around that Crypt Lord. The Impales that we've seen in the last fight were absolutely insane. It was great positioning that he could have with the Crypt Lord because the Mountain King was already pressured so hard. So the Crypt Lord venturing out could not really be pressured by at any point. And now we're seeing NightEnd just playing this slow. He still had a little bit of income or a little bit of gold left that allows him to get a couple more Acolytes back in. So he's the only one of the two players that is still mining. And he also has now, thanks to those statues, still his entire army up. But just look at the mana that we're having on those heroes. He's looking absolutely fantastic when it comes to the mana count now. And ToD is in that awkward spot where you just basically have to throw a Hail Mary with your Mountain King. Your biggest hope is to try and get a kill, maybe against the Lich, but that would also mean that you have to somehow make sure that that Death Knight can't really do anything. And ToD isn't really happy with any of this. Now again, he had a big problem from the start. His items were just never on the same level of what we've seen here from NightEnD. NightEnD creeping the 2 Augerlords at level 7 gave him not only Claws of Attack plus 12, but he also got the Cut Gas Pipe of Insight. And for an Undead player, those are fantastic items. That Lich with the Gloves of Haste, with the Orb of Corruption, getting the extra 23 damage in too, was just such a huge problem throughout the entire game. And here come again, just the nukes. He's trying to already put the early pressure on. NightEnD knows exactly that he's in a great spot. Time is working in his favor. ToD has to attack, and NightEnD is trying to exploit it. Another quick stun through the Impale. Coil Nova on the Mountain King. MK on the way back here. At least the Blizzard is doing some work, but the Potion of Invulnerability is a bit too little. There's not really much he can do. That Mountain King is going to be the focus of attention once the potion is gone, which is right now. Here comes the Nova. Here comes the Focus Fire. The coil is moving through, and that's a dead Mountain King. Level 5 now on the Crypt Lord as well. And ToD at this point basically just trying to get at least a counter kill on the Lich. That's not going to happen either. Mountain King is under pressure. Oh, sorry, Mountain King is dead. The Archmage is under pressure, and so are the Riflemen. All of this is basically down. We have a small scout over here. ToD not really too happy with this. Map did not work in his favor, and NightEnD victorious in today's game on Turtle Rock. So guys, thank you very much for watching the video today. We're gonna explore a couple of more matchups in the near future, getting ready for Warcraft 3 Reforged here. Now, if you enjoyed today's video, make sure that you drop a like on the video. Of course, you're also very welcome to subscribe to the channel. And yeah, drop in the comment sections what you think about the game right now, what you think also about the matchup. If you yourself are currently playing a little bit or more of Warcraft 3 to get prepared for Reforged, and what kind of matchups you would like to see in the future. Gonna have a few more games pretty soon, and that's it for the day. So I hope that you enjoy your week. I'm gonna see you guys soon here on YouTube. Bye bye.